Hey guys, it's Sean, and I'm here to introduce you to a bonus episode of ReelBlend because we have an interview with filmmaker Abel Ferrara and his leading man Ethan Hawke. They're joining us for their new film Zeros and Ones. This is a really unique opportunity to speak to a filmmaker like Abel, who works in the independent realm, does a lot of really gritty sort of independent films, is a true New Yorker, and has worked on films that you would probably recognize, where he's collaborated with the likes of Harvey Keitel and Willem Dafoe. He makes really offbeat and very signature films that really resonate with the types of stories that he wants to tell. And this one in particular casts Ethan Hawke as two brothers. Ethan Hawke plays both characters, and they're both on completely opposite sides of a very political discussion. One is an investigator who is trying to stop a terrorist attack from happening, and the other brother is buried in the sect that is going to pull off the attack. So we talked a lot about, especially with Ethan Hawke, balancing how difficult it is to get passion plays made in Hollywood nowadays versus the franchise films. He does talk about joining the MCU because he is part of Moon Knight, and it's really interesting to hear his perspective about why he takes work like that. And then just Abel, too, who, as you'll see over the course of the conversation, doesn't really love interviews, but has a lot of great insight when he does open up about the filmmaking process. And I thought it was really funny that he just kind of loves that he had a movie star in Ethan Hawke there to back him up. So we had a lot of fun with this conversation. I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. A bonus episode of ReelBlend, Abel Ferrara and Ethan Hawke talking about Zeros and Ones. Good. We're going to dive right in. We are a filmmakers podcast. We encourage you guys to get as geeky as possible about the process. And so, Abel, I'd like to start here with you. There's an effect that you use periodically in the film where the film stock almost shifts to look like an exposed negative, but then you fill it with such vibrant color. Sometimes it's like an icy blue. There's a moment after the sex scene where it's this eye-catching yellow. And so for a film that's mostly set in shadow and sort of lit by natural light, I kind of wanted to know first how you get that effect, and secondly, why you chose to use it every once in a while.
Well, I mean, that's the camera the character was using. I mean, he's a soldier at war, basically. So, I mean, he's not taking temperature readings. He's not, he's using the camera he thinks is ideal at the moment, whether it's a night vision or, so whatever the choice is, you know what I'm saying? Mm. So once you start from that point, of reality, you could go anywhere on the other side of that. Mm-hmm. It comes back to the zeros and ones. I mean, the change once we went, the change to the digital, there's a lot maybe lost, but what's gained is the manipulation of the image.
True. Very
and
true.
When you can use that manipulation, then now you're in just pure, now it's your pure art, it's your pure vision. It's the editor's feeling the color at that moment. And because it's locked into the character's the reality of the character's camera, which could be anything. Right. Then we get maybe, we get pretty free, bro.
Very cool. Thank you.
Wow. Ethan, we often hear actors tell us, when working with an acclaimed director, like, look, they could have pitched me the phone book and I would have signed on to it. You're at this point in your career where really you can pick and choose basically any role or movie or TV show or series or limited series that you want. So at this point in your career, to what degree do you choose based on the role, and to what degree do you choose based on the director?
Well, first off, I have to say, I wish what you said is true. I think one of the things that is fascinating about spending 30 years in an industry is very, very few people can do whatever they want. It's shockingly hard for really accomplished people at this medium to get financing for movies. It just always is. And there's certain people that somehow manage to get a pass. Somehow they follow their heart and they are true to themselves and they make other people money. Most of the time, what really opens doors for film financing is your ability to make people money. And the more interested you are in independent film and independent thought, the less likely you are to make people cash. It's just, I make this joke to young actors is there's a direct relationship to how much you get paid and how interesting the job is. The more you get paid, the less interesting the job. It's just the better your lines, the less you're getting paid. You know, you want to do King Lear, you're not going to get paid to do it. Okay, if you want to sell butter beans, you probably make a lot of money doing that. And so the life of an actor is a strange one. I've always tried to achieve some level of balance where I get to be in the game, and I'm lucky because I have a love of a lot of different kinds of movies. I love all movies. I love being in them, and it's one of the ways I challenge myself is just to work inside different genres. It turns me on, but I feel like the primary job of the actor is to facilitate the life of the filmmaker. I mean, is to find directors, young people and experienced people, and to be their champion and be an extension of their imagination and to try to make their ideas work. And I love Abel's movies. I've loved them for a long time. We've almost worked together a handful of times. And I always regretted the fact that it didn't happen. And I saw his last film, Tommaso, and the last one I had seen. And I just thought it was staggeringly brilliant. And I thought that this is a major artist in our medium, and he was going to go to war against COVID. You know, he's going to try to not let the pandemic stop us from communicating with each other and making movies and singing songs and trying to make rock and roll, right? Mm-hmm. And I just admired it, and I wanted to be a part of it. So it was extremely simple choice, but the fact that any of us get to do what we want to do all the time. I mean, if Abel and I could have gotten paid to do this and made it, maybe we would have made it a lot better. We had a very limited time. We had very limited means, but I always secretly think sometimes those obstacles enhance creativity. Mm-hmm. So,
there's a question about the process and the formation of these characters, because when I see two brothers, and Ethan, you get to play both of them, both sides of that coin, and they're so vastly divided in their ideologies, I just start to think about who the parents are. And at what point, like, what personality might they be closest to, and when did they diverge from that? Was that a conversation at all between you two, or Abel, even as you were writing the two roles?
We talked about it, Abel. I mean, first off, my brother's in the military, and I'm an actor, for crying out loud. And we often wonder, we're all not so different as we think. This idea that people on the right side of politics are some other different kind of human than some left-wing radical. It's part of what I think the movie's trying to talk about is binary thinking, dualistic thinking, and that we're all, I think both these men are really trying to be of service in their way. Mm-hmm. My mother's a yellow dog Democrat. My father's been a conservative his whole life. And they're both me. They're both in there. I understand both points of view. I'm capable of understanding a level of nuance. Most of us, a lot of us, unfortunately, today seem to lock onto one or two issues, and then they're just on the bus ride for every issue. Sure. Or they assume they're against things that they don't even understand where the other person is coming from. Mm-hmm. And so this movie kind of dives into the messy heart of that, and getting to have the lead actor represent both sides of a situation is kind of a wonderful opportunity. Abel, how did that sound?
Great. You got to come on more of these interviews. I'm taking notes for the next solo interview.
Well, Abel, I'm about to throw this one out at you. You have worked with some of the great actors of all time.
Keep it simple.
Oh, I will. Really? I promise.
Okay.
You've worked with some of the greatest actors of all time, and obviously,
myself.
You
really killed it. Yeah.
Of course, and then obviously you got Ethan Hawke and Harvey Keitel and Willem Dafoe. But I would imagine, you go to different actors for different roles for different reasons, but what is a constant that you're always looking for? What is a through line that Ethan Hawke and Willem Dafoe and Harvey Keitel all possess that you're always looking for when casting a role?
they get it, they understand it. They, like he said, he knows our work. He knows what we're doing, and he understands what, they understand the material, I mean, they just understand themselves. They understand what they're, coming into. And, there's the connection that you just, there's some act, I'm working with somebody I've never seen anything he's done. It's like, I just haven't, I'm an instinctive filmmaker, man. You know what I mean? So it's like, if I get the vibe, I'm going to run with it, but at the end of the day, I think it's the intelligence, it's the compassion, it's the, they care about the film, they really care about the movie, that this process is important, that this counts, that it's really, it matters. It's about intent, I think.
Ethan, you were mentioning that it's the actor's job to sort of champion filmmakers, champion voices, and the screener that we sat down to watch led with that message that you recorded for it. And so I wanted to know if, with this advent of streaming services, with the availability of wider platforms, if that process of championing voices has gotten any easier.
Well, when I was younger, I had the opportunity to work with Sidney Lumet. And one of the things that was his last film, he was 83, and he was extremely knowledgeable and extremely passionate. And one of the things I remember him saying to Phil Hoffman and I is that it's always changing. Making movies is in a constant state of change. When he started, it was live TV was the sexy, cool thing. Then live TV was lame. People didn't want to do it. Then it's cinema. It was changing into television at the end of his life. And he always talked about the benefit, the way to weather the change of time is to be true to yourself. And that the times around you just constantly are moving. But there is some consistency inside you that whatever part of him loved 12 Angry Men was the same part of him that enjoyed making Q&A or Before the Devil Knows You're Dead or The Verdict or whatever later works you want to champion. And I think the pandemic and the skyrocketing of streaming has been valuable in a way because it's shown people how much we value storytelling. We just value the hell out of it. My kids don't, I got a 23-year-old, I got a 19-year-old, and they don't even really think about whether something's a movie or a show. They think about whether it's good.
Right.
Personally, I am drawn to stories that have a beginning, middle, and end, have a thesis, have something to say. I'm a little dubious of entertainment content. Things, it starts to feel like a magazine article to me versus a novel. I mean, I go to the doctor's office, I'm on a plane. I enjoy looking at a magazine because I don't want to concentrate that hard. I really enjoy sitting down to watch a great film by a filmmaker and a bunch of artists that have something they're trying to communicate to me in this amount of time that I feel like will leave me. It's not just entertainment. They're trying to feed me. Right. And so that's always going to be my favorite thing. How streaming can interact with that and how important it is to have a community environment. I mean, Abel and I have never sat down in a movie theater and watched this movie. That hurts. I don't know. It just doesn't feel right, but that we're not the only two filmmakers that's happened to in the last couple of years, and so I don't know. The only thing that's the same is change, right?
Yeah,
and
very true.
By the time I lay some comment down about it, it'll have changed underneath me. So,
yeah, that's a good point. Very true.
Ethan, it's hard to imagine. Last month was the 20th anniversary of Training Day. And I truly believe that one of the best moments of your career is you in the bathtub with the shotgun in your face screaming, "I have a little girl." Like, it's just such a powerful moment. So I've kind of a two-part question for you. One, really what you remember about that day, because it's such a powerful place that you got to. And two, correct me if I'm wrong, I seem to remember that was your Oscar clip that they showed at the ceremony whenever you were nominated. And do actors care what clip they show whenever they're nominated and they're in the auditorium? Like, are you ever curious, like, oh, I wonder what part of the movie they're going to show?
Well, for the sake, I mean, I know this will be extremely unlikable, what I'm about to say, but I'm not running for office. I'll tell you, I remember that clip because I was like, fuck, that's a good clip. When I saw that, the whole world's watching, and sometimes somebody gets announced an award and they show some clip and it seems kind of insipid and uninteresting. And I thought, if it was a competition for best clip, I won.
We were joking about, you see the reactions on certain actors' faces where they're like, "That's the one you chose." Like,
yeah, for sure. And they never ask you or anything. And sometimes you can tell it's totally embarrassing because the clip is very uninspired. But I love that movie, and I remember everything about that day. That's one of the things I love about making films. Abel, I bet it's the same for you. The time period of my life that I'm actually making a movie on a set with a group of other people that want to make a movie, I remember almost everything. It's like, you hear players talk about a game that happened 30 years ago, and they remember, well, it was 2 strikes, 1 ball, he threw a slider, Joey was on second base, we made eye contact. That's the way it is for me. I remember about that day, particularly, Denzel stopped by the set and he watched for a little while and he went, damn, I'm not in the best scene in this movie.
Oh, that's funny. Abel, I'm curious, when you were writing these 2 brothers, if it was always the intent to have the same actor play both of them.
We've been doing this, the last couple of movies, you know what I mean? It just happened to have a father-son deal, and Willem played in both. So, I was, I'm not really thinking, when I'm thinking of these characters, it's like, unless I know he was Ethan came on after actually we had the script as a much maligned 18-page script we had. So I was just thinking these guys. Once, I decided, that Ethan came, and then it's another thing, you're talking about champion filmmakers. The point is, Ethan came out to nothing. There was no film. There was 18 pages. There was no money. There was no nothing. We're in the middle of a pandemic. I don't know what I was asking him to do. He asked me, what is it in an actor? Is it a guy who's going to say yes to, a complete dream,
Right.
Basically, and his presence, it makes the dream, is usually the piece that makes the dream the reality, and it's kind of an obvious choice. And then when he told me his brother is in the Green Beret, right? Or whatever. I don't want to out his brother, but it's then it was like, okay, now we're talking.
Right. Yeah.
And then
made sense.
Who's going to play his brother? Who could possibly play his brother better than him?
Right. True. Good point.
Except his brother. But we didn't want to bring the plane ticket, line on the budget was full, so he had to play.
I love that Ethan Hawke's brother was too expensive.
Deal.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Exactly. It's a low budget. It's a low budget device.
Wow. Abel, I mentioned to Ethan that last month was the 20th anniversary of Training Day, but next year, believe it or not, is the 30th anniversary of Bad Lieutenant, which is just a flawless film. Whoa. And I'm curious about what you learned on the set of that film that has stayed with you that maybe you even brought to the set of this film.
I learned a lot from Harvey as an actor, as a relationship between the director and an actor. And Harvey really taught us a lot. Same thing, intelligence, compassion. He cared about everyone. He came to that place, it was another, he didn't make anything, you know what I'm saying? These guys did the same thing here, like you say, everything's changing, nothing changes. We're doing this for love and money, you know what I mean? But, in the beginning it's love. And then if things work out, then it's money. But, Harvey was coming from a different place as an actor. I didn't know him. We didn't know him. He came to our group. We have the same filmmakers, same people I'm working with for a while. And, he brought, he just brought a wealth of how I need to be there for the actor. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a you learn so much on every film, and that one, that's what I really learned. He was so, they're so giving, man. I'm saying, Ethan, Will, Lily Teller, Juliet, they're just so giving, man. They're giving to me, they're giving to the other actors in the room, and that's the thing that really, when that's there, now I really have a sixth sense for that, about who's coming, who's going to deliver that. And it's not going to, because we're doing this because for the love of it, man, we're not doing it to get stressed. We're not doing it to be pressured. Okay, we had the pandemic, we had this and that, but I look back on zeros and ones. Those were 12 beautiful days. Mm-hmm. I'm like 12 out of 12 or 13 out of 13. Like, it was like, yeah, it was, and Bad Lieutenant was like that too, even though, anyway, it was good too.
It's true, like what Abel's saying about when a great performance happens, like Harvey in Bad Lieutenant, or De Niro in Raging Bull, or there's a lot of examples you could cite where there's some kind of magic that happens between a collaboration that's bigger than what any of the individuals could have done on their own. And you feel Bad Lieutenant is personal film for Abel, and you feel it's personal for Harvey. And it's like they both have something they're trying to communicate, and we're the benefactor of all these sparks going off of both of them communicating at the same time. Mm. And when that happens, Denzel and Malcolm X with Spike Lee, it's just like boom, these magical eruptions happen between collaborators.
Having said all that, Ethan, as we wrap up, are you ready to dive into the circus that is Marvel? The opposite end of the spectrum of zeros and ones.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I just spent the last 6 months of my life in Budapest working. I see the posters behind you. What is that? Is that
Infinity War and Endgame. So
yeah, nice. I'm a player. Players play. This is where the game's at right now, and right. If it was the 50s, I'd be making a Western with John Ford, that's what, you got to go and you got to do your best. And I was shocked at how gifted and passionate everybody I met there was. They care a lot about what they're doing, and they're a really kind group of people that are dedicated to their universe. I was on a learning curve of trying to catch up with what they've been up to and what they're doing, but I left the experience really impressed.
Very cool. Guys, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, guys.
Pleasure.
Take care, guys.
Both good looking. You're both smart.
Keeping up with you too. That's all.
Doing our best.
We want to thank Ethan Hawke and Abel Ferrara for joining us on ReelBlend. Zeros and Ones is going to be available on Apple TV and everywhere that you buy movies. It's also going to be available on DVD and Blu-ray at the beginning of the year. I hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. I'm glad that Jake brought up Training Day. It's always fun to sort of get the perspective of an actor who has a memorable moment from a scene that resonates with them. And of course, I love that conversation about the Oscar clips. There's a great Twitter account that only runs the Oscar clips and the reaction of the people who are nominated. Make sure you go find that on social media. It's a lot of fun to watch, but that's all that they air. And I know that they have Ethan Hawke's on there for Training Day, so I'm glad that we brought that up. We will be back with a new episode coming on Friday, of course, as usual. We're getting into the release of Spider-Man No Way Home. And I know we're going to break up a non-spoiler and spoiler type content, so keep it locked here on our YouTube channel. Hit subscribe and turn on your notifications, so every time we drop new content, you guys will be the first ones to hear about it. And tell a friend about ReelBlend, especially if you love movies and you know that they love movies too, because we have great conversations every single week with exciting filmmakers and talent, and we want to make sure that you guys follow along in the ReelBlend fun.